checking all your tickers. We're bringing in the cake and ice cream. Coffee in your mug, child's glued to your eyes. Still calling out those bangers like a birthday surprise. Happy birthday, Washboardjim. Stacking years like you stacked them wins. It's 65, a special day. Let's begin. Here's to you, Sneaky Snake King. Happy birthday, Washboardjim. May your wins keep rolling in. Asking ourselves how to do it again. That's the work of the Sneaky Snake King. Taking profit before the chart turns red. Growing your account, Nancy waiting in your bed. The setup is there as you head her way. Forget that bitch, there's another trade to play. Back at your screen as the night falls. Get ready, the 200 SMA calls. Happy birthday, Washboardjim. Stacking years like you stack them wins. It's 65, a special day. Let's begin. Here's to you, the Sneaky Snake King. Happy birthday, Washboardjim. May your wins keep rolling in. Asking ourselves how to do it again. That's the work of the Sneaky Snake King. Life's our only chart that we wanna never end. So we cherish all the moments we have with our friends. Happy birthday, Washboardjim. Washboardjim.
Oh yeah.
On the
Sneaky Snake Trade. Good morning, retail traders. It's Washboardjim, the founder and thinking strategist behind the Sneaky Snake trading strategy, where I talk about chart patterns, moving averages, and being in the now. And this is being recorded, so let's get on it. I just want to say hello, and I hope everybody had a great weekend. And think about our soldiers that died through the wars and our family members that have no longer with us, and I hope we had a pleasant day and we didn't get too drunk. So looks like the war's about ready to end, or it's getting close. You never know. I don't trust Iran, so I have to kind of just play it day by day, and I don't let it bother me too much when I'm trading like a lot of other people do. You know, I don't believe in these predictions of oil going up to $200 a barrel or stagflation or recession or anything like that. We printed way too much money anyway. So a lot of money was printed about 4 years ago, kind of wipe all that discretionary spending out. So we're going to be looking at the Magnificent Seven, and I'm going to be asking anybody if they have any questions on a stock that I can look up and just kind of give them my support levels and resistance levels. And I think that's about it. But I'm ready for get this long weekend over. It's kind of been a boring day for me today. I've cooked and cleaned and ran and walked and swam and just trying to think something else to do. So I want to get on here live and just go over through the Magnificent Seven stocks and see which ones I like for this coming week. And I'm going to be using different time frames. So let's get at it. The first one off the bat is going to be NVIDIA. Now I've got the weekly time frame up here. We've had a pretty good run. Actually, we've had a real good run, bigger than what I expected after we had the 3 white soldiers, which was right here when we had that big bounce for about 3 weeks. I made a little bit of good money there, and I've been scalping ever since. And we did break the resistance on it, so we're about ready to have a pullback, or at least to a solid support. And I'm going to show you where that solid support is on the video. I'm using the weekly time frame. Now, if you all know, I pulled up the yearly time frame a while back, and the video had these 3 big white soldiers on it. So we're going to pull up the SPY. I'm going to show you kind of a trick here. Let me see. That's the yearly. I don't want that one. Or do I? $20-day yearly. It's not looking what I thought it would look like. Well, we had 3 white soldiers right here. So I think I'm looking at, man, 3 days kind of put me back a little bit. Oh, that's why. Shit. I didn't have the right ticker up there. So we have I had SPY. So we have the SPY up here. You can see the correlation to the soldiers that we have. We have 2 soldiers in a consolidated year, 3 soldiers in a consolidated year, 2 soldiers in a consolidated year, 3 soldiers, and each one of these represent a year with a consolidated year. Then we had 3 more soldiers, a huge breakout. And then we continued and held support off that previous body of that candle. Now, if you know me, I use the bodies and I use the wicks for confirmation. So we had like a triple top right here with the bodies, and then we went ahead and broke out to 3 white soldiers. And then this last candle has respected that other previous soldier that we had on the yearly. So that was like a solid support. And we held that support and we ran on up. So I'm going to get rid of this here 716. We had the spot. Also, we had the SPX look about the same. Almost the same identical pattern. We had the 2 soldiers in a consolidated year, 3 soldiers. Usually when you have your 3 soldiers, you have a consolidated year. But this didn't happen this last year. And I think it's because we have a great president in office right now. And he's just probably the first business president we've had that I can remember trading stocks. And I've done it for 22 years. I started back here back in 2006, 2007. And I've been through a lot of crashes ever since. A lot of wars, a lot of bombings. And I've seen days a whole lot worse than what I'm seeing right now. So we have 3 white soldiers in a consolidated year. And that first support, if we ever do have a big pullback, I think we'll hold this here wick and this body right here if we do ever have a real good pullback. But for right now, we're just kind of playing it as it goes. So we got the weekly on the SPX. I'm going to start off with this one first. And I'm going to draw a little trend line that kind of brings it up here and shows you where the first support might be. I'm going to bring this down just a little bit. That'll be our resistance. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. So I'm running this here trend line about to where I think resistance is. But with this good news, we'll probably get a pop out of it this week. We have a short week, 4-day week. I don't know if it's going to be one of them selling the news events or not. So I'm going to say resistance to break, and if that breaks that, that'll become support. And this is on the SPX. Right around 75.17. Then we're going to take this to the daily. And we got like a 2-headed snake up here. We got big old head and shoulder line of this head and shoulders on the daily. So I'm going to run that trend line on the bodies. I'm using the bodies. And that's going to be our support this week to hold. And that's going to be 74, 47, 75. Mark my words. And we'll take it to the 1 hour. We got a gap. We got a gap in that 1 hour. So that'll be like your pivot point. Right at 74.69. If we hold that and try to break resistance of the double top, I think we can move up higher, and that will now become the new support. But for right now, we're going to be holding that blue line is going to be your solid support for right now. A little bit under 74, 47, 75. And then on the SPY, everything looks still bullish until we break that low support. So we're going to go to the weekly or the yearly first. We had the same kind of circumstance. Low support will be down here between that wick and that body of that third soldier. And we've respected it before, that body, so far. So that's still kind of like the channel of where we need to be trading. When we go below that channel, that'll become very, very bearish. So I'm going to make that a blue line. Then we'll go to the daily or the weekly. And I got to raise that up a little bit. Set me an alert right there. Right on top of that wick. At the mark and at below. So that's going to be your previous support level right in here. And I'm using the wicks. We've got 3 of them right there. Then we'll go to the daily. This is just how I chart things, and that seems like way too low. That's way too low now that I'm looking at the daily. So I'm going to run a trend line on that weekly. That's one hell of a run. One heck of a run. Using the bodies, it's going to be a solid support right there. Right off that there trend line, right around 731 for this week. If we hold that, we'll stay bullish. If not, we'll drop on down to this previous engulfing candle where them 3 white soldiers are. 3 white soldiers, break out, usually pull back to that third soldier. That'll be your channel of support if we go below 731.10. So I've been charting like this for about 22 years, and the last 4, my accuracy has moved up quite a bit since I started this new trading strategy. I used to trade with scanners. I had all kinds of scanners that I'd use, trade ideas, and then there used to be one out of Canada I used to use when I started trading. And I'd trade off scanners, but now I've got to kind of trade off chart patterns, moving averages, and keeping a good watch list. So that's going to be like your solid channel right there. First we got to hold 731.10, and then if that doesn't hold, we could drop to 711, 712, and be a solid support as long as we hold these 3 white soldiers. 3 white soldiers is a bullish pattern, and they usually consolidate, and we didn't get no consolidation after these soldiers. So I've been very bullish. I've been outspoken about it. My voice is a little bit hoarse right now. I've been doing a lot of talking. So we'll go to the hour on here because this is the one we'll probably be trading first. Come Tuesday morning. Hour 20 day. Yeah, that's pretty solid support. If you notice, let me go back to the weekly here, or the daily. I think it's the daily. We had a big old long Darvis box, and we broke out of that Darvis box. What's a Darvis box? It's a horizontal channel, and we broke out of it. It came down and dipped, and then it broke out. So that becomes like a solid support, that 697.30, if this other channel doesn't hold. But we're getting ready to come up to a double top on the daily, and I'm going to mark that in. And that's going to be your new resistance to break. And I'm using the body of that candle right there. 749, 750 is the magical number that we got to look at. If we break the 750, then we'll move it on up, maybe hit 760 pretty easily. But for right now, 731 is going to be your support. So now I'm going to go to the 20-day 1 hour, and we've got another what you call Darvis box above the previous one that we had. And we're going to use the 200 SMA for Monday's support. And that's a head and shoulders. Right around 740.43 come Monday morning. If that holds, we'll stay bullish and try to come up here and break a triple top. The triple top resistance is right about at 747. $747.28. So I'll be watching this channel come Monday. See if we can break that and hold that support here off 743. Now when you're setting your alerts, you want to try to set them above your initial, and I'm going to set it right above this 100 EMA on the 1 hour time frame. And I'll set it at the mark at or below. And that's right above that 100. And that'll give me a pre-warning just in case we hold that or we come down and hit the 200 SMA. Now, you know, the 200 SMA is one of my favorite support levels when I'm trading the moving averages. So let's get up here and look at the Magnificent Seven. Anybody have any questions on the SPX or the SPY? Weedman says puts. Sham says calls. I say it's headline driven right now on a Trump tweet. Now I got in some calls last week and they were unbelievable. I think I was playing like falling wedges and inverse head and shoulders and catching it right at the squeeze, and they'd bounced $2 or $3. Some of them bounced up 17. I mean, it was incredible. And I got a little nervous in one trade and got out of it, and within 2 minutes it bounced up to $6. $6 trade. I was kind of pissed off about that one because I felt good, but the market was going sideways and just wasn't doing nothing. Friday. Yes, I do use the /ES. I'll show you here. When I'm trading, I've got this set up. It's one of my favorite ones right now. We broke out, the /ES has. So we're definitely going to be opening up at a high. And when I'm scalping and day trading, or anytime I'm looking at a stock and I want to take a trade, I've got the VWAP set up on my /ES, and I constantly use it. So we'll look at it here in a second. It was definitely one of my favorite tools. And right now on the /ES, support is at 75.38.76 with a double top breakout. So our resistance is probably going to have to be that wick. But we'll put one right here. If we can stay above the bodies of that candle, 75.65.16, which that's where we are right now. That don't make sense. Yep, we're definitely right there right now. We're definitely at a hard resistance, as you can see. Now I got that off the weekly. Got it off the daily. So I'm glad you brought that up. You can barely see my thing. I'm going to move this over. There we go. I can read it better now. So that's definitely a good spot. If we break that resistance of 75.65.16, we'll definitely start shooting up higher. And I would say our next resistance level would be 7,600. And we got a little head and shoulders right here. So I'm saying the 50, probably the 50. This here's a cloud. It's the 9 and 21. Right now we're above the 9. And the 21's at the bottom. So I'd say the 50 SMA would probably be your next solid support for a low, right around 75.10. But resistance to break, definitely 75.65.16. And like we brought up, when I'm trading the SPX or the SPY, or any trade, I'm looking to see if we're hitting VWAP or if we're kind of pattern we're showing. Right here we got a fallen wedge. And that was a nice little breakout. So the VWAP, and I use the 1 minute. That doesn't make a difference on the VWAP, but we'll be watching the VWAP to see if it holds support. As long as we stay above the VWAP, we're still bullish. If not, we'll go below it. But what a spike! We'll probably hit this resistance or even go higher on the SPX right at open. So we're definitely going to open green. Where's my watch list at? There it is. So NVIDIA on the daily, we've had a pretty good pullback. That's the hour. Previous resistance is this right here. And we definitely are at the 21 right now, the 21 on the daily. So if that holds, we'll start to move up and try to get up to about 220. Let me bring this down here. It'll be less in my face. So the previous support was 216.67, and we're at the 21. So that's kind of like a solid support right there. If not, we'll pull back and hit this previous low, which was a triple top breakout. And I'm going to set an alert just right above that. Actually up here. Now I'm very bullish on NVIDIA, but there's just some kind of crap going on with the fat cats. Earnings were spectacular. They've always been spectacular, but this last time they were extra spectacular, and it still pulled back. So we could hit a solid support off that 21. Tesla, you know me and Tesla, I've been trading it since 2015. This is probably, besides the SPY and the SPX, Tesla's made me probably the most money. And we've had a pretty good pullback, and we bounced off the 200 twice in that little dip that we had with them 3 black crows and that hammer, long leg doji hammer, brought it up to resistance. So let me see here on the weekly. We got a head and shoulders. That's going to be your resistance to break. What the hell is that? That's definitely our resistance to break right around 439. $441. I'm going to bring it up to this previous body right here. Right around 441. And your support for this coming week is definitely going to be the 50 SMA. Right around 400, 401. That's my old employee number. And that's got a little gap there, so pretty solid support off the 50 SMA on the weekly. Then we'll go to the daily. 3 black crows with that hammer off the 200. And that'll be your low support. That'll be your second pretty strong support. So I go back, I want to look for confirmations, and I see this dip right here at 412.97. That'll keep the stock bullish, and it'll still bounce off the 200. And resistance to break will definitely be 441. And that'll be that head and shoulders. Now we got another one here. Kind of a choppy chart. That's sure choppy. And got a gap. Yeah, I'm going to just bring it straight across. Long 466.88. I don't know if it can do that. It's got to break this double top right here, this channel of resistance. Somewhere in there. We're going to take this to the 1 hour. Right now we're at support. 423.97. This thing will probably bounce up too and try to break resistance of 430.66. Where am I? There we go. Break that double top. That's real solid. Resistance, support, support, support. Resistance. That's like a pivot point. So let's see if we can break 430.86 come Monday or Tuesday this coming week. Right now it's at a solid support off the 1 hour time frame at the 200. I'm just going to bring this to the 5 minute, 5 day. Yeah, that's solid. That'll be your channel of resistance right in there. And long 430.86 to break. Apple's been on a tear. We'll see if this thing broke resistance. Take the body of that candle right there and run it up to the body. So then now that'll become support to stay bullish. I'm going to create an alert. If we can hold that support level at 294.56, we'll play in that channel. But this has had one heck of a run. Bounced off the 63 with a triple bottom. 1, 2, 3. That'll be your low support. That triple bottom. Now I hate to see it break down below that low. That's a heck of a dip. So your previous triple top will become support. Body, wick. And then it kind of respected them two bodies right there. So that's going to become your solid support for this coming, if it pulls back. I mean, that's 4 soldiers consolidated. This has been one heck of a run. 2 months in a row. Two months of solid running. So we'll see if it holds support at 294.56. If not, that'll keep it bullish. If not, it'll come down and try to hold this triple top at 280.78 for a strong buy. And that's the bottom of that third crow, or third soldier. Look at LAES. Yep, we'll look at it here in a second. Amazon. This is the weekly time frame, and we're going to see where we are at resistance. Take the body of that candle right there and run it up to the body of that. And we pulled back. It looks like Friday it held resistance level, or just right below resistance. So it held resistance. And resistance to break will be that body right there on the weekly. Now, a lot of traders don't use the bodies. They're hooked on the wicks. And I see more consistency with the bodies of the candles by far than I do with the wicks. So I use the bodies to line up my trend lines and my support lines, or, my price level lines. If I use the wicks, they're just not consistent. But if I use the bodies, they're more consistent. We had 3 white soldiers, and then it's kind of consolidated back to that third soldier right there. So that's going to become your support level to stay bullish. And if that doesn't stay bullish right there, 263.54, then we got this previous high we got to look at. And that matches up with that wick. So 255.32 for this week. If it goes below that, then we're a lot more bearish. It'll come back down another notch, maybe to the bottom of the body of that candle right there. So we'll go to the daily. This is Amazon. Previous high right here. You got a gap. So that's solid support. If it gets down that far. Come in here Monday, and if we can hold 267, 268, got a gap right in here. That'd be your pivot point. Support 263.54 this week. Pivot point 269, and resistance to break at 273.20. And if that breaks, you have this channel of resistance up here to go long at around 276 to the wick of 278.38 for a double top breakout. Am I liking Amazon? I like the pullback we had. I think we need to hold that blue trend line. If we can hold that blue trend line, we'll move up. That's on the weekly. A lot of lines in there. Almost too many. Almost too many. Stay above the 200. We're still good on the 1 hour time frame. So hopefully this week we'll get it to 273.20. Just head and shoulders. I'm going to put a little red line right there so I can remember that. And then I'm going to type in a resistance alert. How I do my resistance alerts, mark at or above, and I'll type weekly resistance to break. That'll show up on my alert. That's 272.55. I don't trade Amazon that much. Microsoft, you know how I feel about Microsoft. I think it sucks. Bill Gates, I don't like that dude one bit. We have a resistance to break at 429, but the fat cats don't care. I just don't like Bill Gates. So we're just going to look at the hour. As long as we hold the 200, we stay bullish on the 1 hour time frame. That's where we hit before. And I'm going to put an alert line right there. $200 SMA on hour. So if that doesn't hold, I'm going to put a price line right across there. That's an inverse head and shoulders. And it lines up with a 200 SMA. So that'd be a solid support if it holds. Then you can run it up and try to break 221.42. And then maybe long right under 430. But I don't know if I'll trade this week. I don't like Bill Gates. Sometimes I take it too personal. Then we got Google. Another huge run on these stocks. It's almost too scary how much it's called frothy. It has nothing to do with the news or anything like that. If I would listen to Schwab or CNBC, I'd be bearish as could be. But I don't listen to them. That's why I've made so much money in this last run. I just don't listen to them. I mean, you can't believe hardly anything anymore what people say. So on the weekly, I think we'll just kind of go with this engulfing candle right here. And that'd be a pivot point in between the 9 and the 21. So as long as we hold the 9, we stay bullish. And that's on the weekly time frame. So I'm going to take it to this wick. And then that body of that candle. And that's going to be your support channel. And I'm going to color that in. But I'm glad you brought up the /ES because you're 100% right. A guy who ever mentioned that's a good trader. Weed man. So we've had a 3-week support level, kind of like a Darvis box, all the way straight across. And we're just right at the bottom of that channel. Could go down a little bit farther, right about there. The bodies of these here candles right here. $382.28, and that's where we are right now. That's a solid support. If that thing dips on down, this is Google, this is solid support. 382.28. That could start to pop up and try to break the 200 on the 1 hour at 390 this week, 393.41. Now, if there's peace, if it actually happens, well, it'll probably unleash the fat cats because they've been very bearish. All they've been talking about is oil this, oil that, oil this, oil that. I've seen it a lot worse, oil. Back during the Obama years, we had a war on oil where people were applauding because he said oil prices would go up. And they were a lot higher back then than they are now. And the same thing under Biden when he had a war on oil. But still unleashed it to other countries. And we had oil, gasoline was a lot higher back then too. So I don't really call this a war on oil. Maybe on parts of the world, yeah. But not here in America. So that's your support channel. No lower than 376.26 on Google to stay bullish. And if we hold 382.28, we'll run it back up and break this here resistance level. You got an inverse head and shoulders right here. And you got the 200 SMA. So that's a hard resistance. When the 200 SMA lines up with the shoulder line of this inverse head and shoulders, that becomes very hard to break. But if it breaks, it'll shoot right up. You probably won't stop. And you got another two-headed snake right up here. What I mean by two-headed snake, we got left shoulder, right shoulder, and two heads. And GOOG definitely had a solid support on it also. No lower than that price line right there. And that's right where we are. Right on the bottom right there. So if that holds, same situation. We'll run it up here to the pivot point area. We got resistance, 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 support, resistance, 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 and right under the 200. So I'll set my alert at or above and type in under the 200 SMA on the hour. This is how I prepare every week. I just go over the Magnificent Seven, and the pivot point is right about in here where we consolidated. We got a head and shoulders, support, 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 support. That'll become resistance. And that'll be the 63 EMA and the 50 SMA, just under and over the 200. This is the 200 right here, EMA. So just right above between that and the 200 SMA. We're bearish right now because we're under the 200. That's on the 1 hour. But if you look at the daily, we're at the 21. So that's like a solid support. If that doesn't hold, then you got a gap. And you want the top of that gap. I've got videos on how to trade gaps. That'll keep the stock bullish too. At 371 on the daily. Then it's a big dip on down to your double top breakout right here. And you don't want that. If you want the market to stay bullish, you want to keep it above that the top of that gap. And then Meta's been, I don't know about Meta. I like Meta, but the fat cats don't like the CapEx spending. It makes no sense to me. You know, this is a new revolution. This is a new revolution. I don't know if you've seen one in your lifetime. We had the .com era. That was like a new revolution. And a lot of these stocks that run up, I mean, they were running up thousands of percentage points. And then only a few of them survived. But this is different. I think this AI thing's a little bit bigger than that revolution was. And that was the internet. And then we had artificial revolutions like the EV cars, the pot run when they legalized marijuana. And there's been a couple others. But those were the two major ones. And that was the .com era and then this AI boom. But you have to invest to make money. I own businesses. I've owned two businesses. I've actually owned more than that, but I've had two businesses where I had to put a little money into it to make money. And I don't understand quite much about why these fat cats are complaining about the CapEx spending. You know, they were calling a pullback. They were calling bad earnings, and earnings were great. The earnings were fantastic this last quarter. Excellent. I mean, it blew their minds, and that's why the market run up so good. But they were warning about pay attention to the guidance. That's all they wanted to talk about was the guidance, and they'd dig anything in there that just to have the stock pull back. If it's just one little bitty thing, it'd give them enough excuse to pull the stock back so they can buy the dip. So here we've got head and shoulders on Meta. Now I like this support level on Meta. We have a gap right here and we have a gap right here. So I'm going to use the gap support, and that's an inverse head and shoulders. So let's go ahead and put that in here for a solid support line. See how we bounced off it? We had your left shoulder, then we hit the right shoulder with that after the big breakout, pulled back and hit that right shoulder. We hit the right shoulder again, and we hit the right shoulder again. But I'm going to call these two here the right shoulders. And if you watch my trading style, I talk about waiting for that second shoulder to hit, and that's when you usually have the breakout. Now look at the 50 SMA. Resistance, support, support, resistance, 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 resistance. So we got to break that 50 SMA on the daily. And I'm going to put a price line, and that moving average will move around a little bit. So I'm going to bring it up to this triple top right here. 1, 2, 3 using the bodies. 619.18 is going to be the resistance to break. Right now you're bearish because you're under the 200 on the daily. That's the 200, and that's been resistance. So this week, if we can pop above the 50, right around 620, we should be able to run this up to about 645 and hit that 200 SMA, or this 100. That'll be your support channel, your resistance channel to break. Support, 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 resistance. We got a gap, resistance, right at the 100. And that's right at around 636.27. I think you can make some money on this trade right here. This looks like the best one so far on the charts. Meta. And it's about time. It's had 1, 2, 3, almost 4 weeks of consolidation in this Darvis box. We just got to break that 620 area and then run it up to 636. And that'd probably be a swing trade for me. And that's it. Now, is there any other ones that are on my mind? We got quantum stocks where the government's invested pretty heavily. Regretta, RGTI. I've traded this one last week. So we broke above the 200. Now we're bullish in this trade. So that 200 now becomes support. I'm going to lower my support line down here just a little bit above that 200. And try to line it up with some bodies over here. I want to keep that support level at 2364 to keep this thing bullish. And then we got a head and shoulders right here to break. I'm going to take the body of that candle right there. And run it to this body right here. So that's a head and shoulders. That head and shoulders was a resistance. It didn't want to break that second time and it pulled back, run into that 50. So that 50 is definitely a solid support. As you can see, resistance, support, support. But now we're above the 200. Their next resistance to break would be right around $28. Then you got this long, you got support right here, and you got this area right in here, right around 30. And you should have some kind of resistance at that level. Now I'm very bullish in this stock. It ran up to $58 last time Trump opened his mouth. And them things, quantum area, the quantum stocks. So I'm going to take and put a price line right at the body right there. Right around 30.20. So we got to break the inverse head and the head and shoulders at 28.50, and then run it up to 30 and hold support at 23.64 this week. I think if it pulls back to that 23.64, that could be a good buy. And then I think that's it. How many people we got in here? 7? Congratulations if you stuck around. You can at least see how I kind of prep. Experts are worried Q-Day could bring a $3 trillion banking nightmare. See, they're still at it. They're still at it. I mean, I don't quite get it. I don't understand why they're so bearish when I've seen times a whole lot worse and they were very bullish. I just don't understand. I've been around here long enough to know. So I'm going to put a price line right up there at support. I don't try to listen to them that much. Used to be able to listen to them when they were, kind of had an equilibrium on their shows, and they'd have, and I like listening to Schwab. They don't even have a chartist on CNBC, Squawk Box, or anything. It's just all opinions. And they trade like they're back in 1920. They've tried every book, every tested in the book. They've tried their hardest to bring this market back. From the Buffett theory to pulling up the people that are shorting the market and it still runs up. And just talking about stagflation. They tried it with the tariffs. They've tried it with the oil, swearing that oil was going to go up to $200 a barrel. If it went to $200 a barrel, I'd be worried. But I can never see that happening. It would take a nuke. And then I would probably believe it. So I'm going to raise this support just a little bit higher than my trend line. $24.81. Now to keep me kind of alert. I hope I typed in the 200 on the daily on this. Well, let me redo it. I think I did. We'll just leave it alone. LAES. I'm really liking where the 200 is on LAES. Shares of quantum, this is quantum related. Yeah, I like this. I think we got to hold 333. Let's clean this up. I was trading it before. Long. Let's go to the weekly first. Yeah, I like this one a lot. I'm going to write it down on paper. LAES. So we got a head and shoulders on the weekly. And that's right around 566. And that's a good spot right there. So we're going to put a price line there to go long. Right around 560. We're going to put a price, a trend line right there to hold. So $2 for solid support to buy, to get into this trade. We call it a double bottom. But I'm going to stay above this trend line. Now, I used to trade a lot of pennies. I did it for many years. Started trading pennies back in 2007, 2008. We had a chat room, one of the first chat rooms called the Penny Play. And then I left that and we had the Wise Guys, and then I did one of my own called Wash Stock Watch Talk. So that was back when there was no chat rooms at all. We trade a lot of pennies, so I'm a good penny trader. And I like the fact that the momentum is behind quantum. And we're going to come up above this next resistance level. We're going to use that right there and that. So I'm going to put a resistance to break at 379. And I'm going to put a little field at the top of the body of these candles to that little gap right in there. That's on the weekly, so I might have to bring that out farther. Right there. So I'm going to bring this to the daily. Support's got to hold at 204. Resistance to break 379 to 560 so far. Then on the daily, that's the 200 SMA. So that's going to be your resistance to break. If you can stay above the 200, long 560 if it gets a lot of news. We got a little support channel right up in here, right around 510. That's that 3 white soldiers, right around 508. So I'll take us to the hour, 90 day. That's low. I mean, if it gets down there, that's going to be a strong buy. And right here was double, triple bottom is. That's where you want it to hold. Right around 263. That's, I don't think it's going to get down here. I'm going to set an alert and call that a triple bottom alert for a strong buy. And resistance to break is going to be right around 363 this coming week. That's right there at the body of that candle. Right around 369. I'm going to put another price line right here. That's going to be your resistance channel. 359, 379, and 414. Support to hold. You've got a channel of support right in here, Darvis box. So that's going to be your support channel. That's a Head and Shoulders. 316 with a strong buy down here. Right around 272 to hold, to get in the trade if you're not in it already. But if we break 359, copy and paste this. I'm going to type in here resistance channel. And this is going to be your support channel. And these are your numbers, 263 to 316. And then resistance is going to be 359 to 414. And I'd have enough, almost enough. If the 396 held right above that 200 SMA, 200 SMA is one of my favorite moving averages. The 9 keeps me in the trade, and the 200 gets me in and out of a trade for solid support. Like if we were above here and we hit the 200, I'd get out of it. If we hit the 200 coming down, I'd start a small position, and then knowing that maybe we could pull back to the bottom of this triple bottom Darvis box and hold that for a solid support. If it wasn't for that triple bottom, I'd be looking only at the 200 on the 1 hour. Go ahead and copy and paste that. Use that for reference. Red line is solid support. Resistance to break 359 to 414. Yeah, I like that a lot. We're at the 63 right here on the 1 hour. So that'd be hitting that right shoulder. Left shoulder, right shoulder. Yeah, definitely right in there. That'll keep it bullish if you can stay above that Darvis box. You put the flow in my server. Okay, well, that's about it. Anybody else have anything they want me to look at before I call it a night? You can always go back and kind of use, this will be saved, so you can go back and say, well, Jim talked about Apple or he talked about Tesla. Let me go back and dig through that channel, that last video, and see where Tesla was, and I'll kind of just use his ideas and see if they match up with mine. So you got a pivot point also on this here lays or lees or whatever it is. Support, 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 and then it finally gave up. And resistance, resistance, resistance. So that's kind of like a pivot point right in there. That'll keep it very, if we dip down there, that'll keep that bullish. That red line. That's, see, you can see it more clearly now that I put it in there. And I'm resistance, resistance, support, 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 and then kind of up a little bit. That set my alert right up in that upper part of it. And that'd be like a pivot point in that channel at 291. But we want to see 316 hold. All right. Well, we'll see how Monday opens up. We're definitely going to be opening up. And the fat cats are going to be crying and whining in their soup. So we might get a good little pullback at open and then see what kind of pattern we form. Little pullback. Always when they gap up, I always try to look for a pullback. I don't try to just jump right in. It might take, a good hour, unless I see a double bottom at open or something that looks respectable. Okay, that's it. Thanks a lot. We're going to play a song.
Narcissistic Jim, with his ego and his wit, doesn't give a damn what you think of him one bit. The market takes a dip, SPX Jimmy will buy. Bitching at Molly Carolyn, still the apple of his eye. Burp it up, Jim, let it fly, let it roar, let it roar. Stocks tend to rise with a fart from his core. Narcissistic Jim. He'll burp and fart out loud until his room stinks. Candles on his screen, bounce like titties in the night. Burps get so loud the neighbors say that boy ain't right. Bull or bear, calls or puts, doesn't matter one bit. Jimmy's face can't wait for Nancy to come and sit. Fart for a dip, ass making noise, burp for a rip, cheers from his boys. Jimmy is grinding away on his washboard toy. Burp it up, Jim.
Whoop. There you go, Burp It Up Jim. We'll catch you later, alligator.